You
can get their attention.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you all for taking time out of your very busy schedules to come hang out with us for a few days. I really appreciate you guys taking time to be here with us.
And we're really happy to be at the Santa Ana Pueblo, so it's wonderful to be here at this sovereign nation and to be hosted here for the next couple of days with you. So thanks for being here. We're going to get started a little bit late, which is fine. I think people had some trouble finding it, so I think folks will keep trickling in. We do have translators. Where did they go? They've been here for an hour. Oh.
They sat there a long time, though.
All right. Well, Maria, would you mind sitting with folks just for this part, or is that possible? Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. We have two translators, so they could take turns, but I guess they both left. But you'll hear them in the back, and they wanted me to say that if you hear them talking in the back, they're not being rude, they're not having a conversation, they're just translating. I guess in the past, people have gone and scolded them for having a conversation, and they're not, they're translating. So hopefully everyone has a red packet, and you'll kind of see what the day looks like, but we wanted to walk through it. So the fun part this morning is to hear from all of you, farmers from all over the state of New Mexico. Many of you have given me photographs, so we'll have lots of pictures and stories to hear this morning. And we'll be starting in the north and working our way down the state, with the exception of the South Valley. We're going to bump them up towards the top because I know Fidel can't be here the whole day. Okay. And then we'll break for lunch. We'll have a delicious lunch here. And we purposely chose this room because you can walk outside onto the bosque. So I know as farmers, we don't want to be locked in sterile hotel rooms. So you'll be able to eat on the patio today if you want. Get outside. And then this afternoon, we want to talk about what's happening with sales to schools. And many of you have participated in that. This year, we got a lot of feedback from the schools that we want to share with you and go over the numbers. And that's part of our vision. And the whole purpose of this two-day gathering, this statewide farmer gathering, is to try to keep building a cooperative vision of how farmers in our state, small-scale family farmers, could be supporting each other, working together, not undercutting each other, not competing against each other if we can do that. So we really want to build this out. This is our 6th year of our statewide farmer gathering. So I'm curious, who was here at the first one in Albuquerque in 2011? I think Fidel. I don't know if anyone else was. Bardo was there in 2011. Awesome. And then over the years, we just keep adding. As AFSC works in more communities, we keep bringing people in to just build this vision of a statewide cooperative farmer network. So we'll talk about the school sales and how we can all support each other in getting food to our children. And then from feedback from you all, after the school sales, we will have an open space, which is you all can pick whatever topic you want to talk about, because this is about peer-to-peer learning, farmers to farmers sharing info. And so a lot of people really like this one. You choose your topic. We got lots of beautiful rooms that you can go into and use, or you could go on the patio this afternoon and then just share and then report back to the group. We'll have a break, and for those folks who have come a really long distance, we've reserved some rooms for people, and you can check into your rooms. And then at 4 o'clock, go out to the front doors. There'll be a bus there, and we're going to go take a tour. So at our statewide farmer gatherings, we always try to incorporate a tour, so we're not just stuck in a room presenting. So this year, we're going to go visit the La Montanita Cooperative Development Center. I'm curious, which farmers are selling to La Montanita? A few folks sometimes? Yeah, and over the years, have people sold to the co-op? Yeah, I see people who have in the past. Okay, so we'll be going to take a tour of their center where they aggregate food from around the state. Sure. Más despacio, okay. Yeah, so we'll take a tour of the La Montanita Cooperative Development Center. We've identified that trucks are important for a statewide network, and they have shared their trucks with folks. here in this room. So they're going to show us what's going on with moving food around the state. They also have a loan fund that you can pay back in vegetables. So they'll talk to us about that. I think some folks here have gotten that loan, the lamb fund. I know. Okay, yeah. So they can share how that works. So it'll be about an hour tour. And then we're going to have dinner at the Sandia Pueblo. So you'll get back on the bus and we'll head to the Sandia Resort, and there's a buffet dinner for us there, and we can watch the sunset on the mountains. And then we'll be back here at the Tamaya. So those of you who are staying at the Tamaya, we'll be back 7-ish. And for those of you who just need to get your cars and go home, we'll be back around 7-ish. So that is the plan for today. And again, that's in your packet. And then day 2 is a shorter day. Again, this is all in your agenda. We'll be talking in the morning about what AFSC is doing and what's our vision for going forward. Then we'll go into some really inspiring films about cooperatives and have a discussion about cooperatives and about building a statewide network. And that's the last discussion. We want to get your feedback on what you would want that to look like and what would you need to make that happen. And then we'll have another delicious lunch, evaluate how it went. At some point we need to get a group photo. And so on the point of photo, I just want to thank Yasmin Najmi. She's an amazing photographer, and she's a great community person in Albuquerque working on water issues. And so she's taking pictures today. If you don't want your pictures taken, please let us know, because we don't want to take photos and use them if you don't want that. So just let Yasmin know. And then Mike is videotaping. Thank you, Mike. Mike's from Available Media. And we want to make some short YouTube videos so that people who couldn't come here can still get some of the information. And again, if you don't want to be videotaped, we respect that. Just let us know so we can not share any video of you. Okay. Any questions about our agenda? No. Okay, so we're going to launch onto the really fun part, which is hearing from each other about what's happening at your farms, what you're growing, how you're connected to AFSC, what your markets are, your pictures. So we have about 7 groups this morning that will be sharing about their farms. And a lot of you brought photos. So we'll be doing this until lunch. So that gives you each about 15 or so minutes. I think, what time are we at now? Okay, we're good. 15, 20 minutes. So we're going to start in the north with Chamizal. So if our Chamizal folks could come on up, and I'll pull up your pictures. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? All right, me too. Buenos dias, le de Dios. I'm glad everybody made it. Good morning on this God-given day. We're the Sembradores from New Mexico AFSC Association. We're the farm apprentices. And we've been working in Chamizal since February. Okay. Well, my name is Nicanor Ortega. I'm a parciante from the AFSC Atalaya in Arroyo, New Mexico. I irrigate from the AFSC. It's a town north of Taos called Arroyo Hondo. And my acequia is La Atalaya, and I have an acre farm there. I grow a lot of sweet peas. That was my cash crop this year, and I did really well with it. You know, thanks to New Mexico Acequia Association and AFSC. I also have 15 fruit trees, mostly apples and some peaches, and what's left now is a lot of calabazas, pumpkin and squash, and zucchini. And it's been a really good year. It was a late season to start. It was really cold in Taos in the beginning, but it worked out really good for the sweet peas, and I've been selling a lot of sweet peas through the local farmers market where I live, through the New Mexico Acequia Association and the food co-op, and yeah. I'll hand it off to Shane.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Shane Tolbert. It's really special to be here. Thank you, and it's good to see a lot of familiar faces. And I look forward to meeting new people as well. I'm also with the New Mexico Acequia Association, so it's an honor to participate with them and to learn from AFCS as well. I'm in Abiquiu, north central New Mexico, at the northern tip of the Sonoran Desert. We're at 6,500 feet, and we had a late frost as well. I am on La Puente Acequia, and it flowed all summer during the monsoon season. It shut down for 3 weeks. There was damage and blockage, but fortunately we had plenty of rain that really took care of it. So we're blessed for that. I'm on 2 acres that it's been fallow land for 40 years, and I'm just now getting it started again. What I have is more of a garden. It's not very big. I didn't bite off more than I could chew, so I talk about it in square feet. I'm at about 3,600 square feet of vegetable gardens. I have a bunch of greens and root vegetables and then cut flowers. In addition to that, I'm an artist, and I've partnered with Northern New Mexico College. So the El Rito campus has a greenhouse that I just started taking care of, and I use that space as a studio as well, and I donate all of my vegetables to the senior center in El Rito. And thanks to these 2 guys, we help each other at our farms, and we cover all of the labor that otherwise would be too daunting to do. Up in Chamisal, we stay really busy as well, and we'll get to that in the images. Matthew?
Hi, my name is Matthew. I'm from Chimayom, and my acequia is the Espinosa acequia. I'm really blessed because my next door neighbor grows too, so he waters my garden real good. So I was like, yeah. Now it took me a while. When we first started, me and him were fighting. You know what I mean? I wanted to hit him, but no, I was peaceful about it. I was peaceful, you know. So I found a system that allows him to water his garden as well as my garden. And my garden is not that big, you know. I have 1.5 acres, but it's only like a 30 by 25 plot, you know, 2 of them. And I'm more focused on, like small things, you know. I'm doing things for remedios, things for tinctures, a little bit of food. I'm working on sunflower stalks for fiber and essential oils. So mine's more like, it's not big on growing right now, but this year's more of a seed saving for me, and I'm doing seed collection and stuff like that. So, and then I work with other schools, and I'm trying to work with churches and other hospitals, but right now it's schools and a church. So I'm real happy with that. So yeah. And
hi, my name is Bardo. I'm mentoring the guys with Done. They're a bunch of great guys. They do what we ask them. They're always willing to learn. A lot of trial and errors this year with the greenhouse, but we took it a stride, and we're just keep on going. We're selling to the schools, the Taos, and Santa Fe, I do believe, through the co-op. Thank you.
That's an Abiquiu.
Oh, you want to? Okay. So what's really good about this program, it's an apprenticeship through NMA and AFSC. They're teaching us how to farm and giving us resources to use our water rights properties to make money, but also to learn first. This was in the beginning of the season in Abiquiu, and what's really nice about this program is, like Shane was saying, is we're all helping each other. So we'll be 3 days a week in Chamisal working at NMA's farm, and then throughout the week or sporadically we go to each other's. So we were able to go to Abiquiu. This is what it looked like when we first got to Shane's property. I mean, just some traditional pasture land that hadn't been worked in a while. So we went out there with our broad forks. This is the broad fork right here, and it was really it was pretty cold then. This was back in March, early March. Yeah, and just some really strong soil with grassroots and whatnot. And then this is in Chimayo where Matthew lives, and he has a lot of Chinese elms around, so we're in the shade right there. But man, the soil is so pretty there. It hasn't been worked in such a long time, but you can tell though that in all three areas that where we came from, that the tierra, the dirt where we're from, is really rich and has a lot of history to it. And then this is back in Abiquiu for our lunch break. As you could see, this is what it looked like when we started, and by lunch, we got the ground to look a little more disturbed. Yeah.
Thanks, Nicanor. And then this is back in Chamizal, so still early spring. We're taking advantage of our hoop houses with just getting an early start on all of our fresh greens. So from left to right, we have turnips, radishes, and then we're switching to kale and chard at the end. So we've been steadily harvesting that throughout the year. The chard especially, we've gotten so many bundles, or I mean, we've taken so much of that to market. Yeah, that was the 25 by 50, and now we're starting on our the very early stages of pounding in all the posts for our 100 by 30 foot hoop house, which, you know, you could get an auger, but doing it by hand, you really build a relationship to it. Yeah, we can. Bardo taught us how to swing a sledgehammer.
It was time consuming, you know, but you know, I didn't have to go to the gym after that. It was so great. So this is when we finally got all the posts in, and we finally started getting the hoops over. That was probably the easiest part. That was a little easier, but it was still really cool. It was a good experience, and that's where it's kind of good. We're putting in plastic, right?
That was a special day.
Yeah, that was. You know, it really was. And we had some, you know, complications with that. You know, the weather. You just don't mess with Mother Nature. You know.
Yeah,
and
talk a little bit about it.
yeah, so the weather, it was, oh man. Okay, so the first time we did it, you know, the weather just took the plastic, boom, it was gone. I was like, oh man, we were so hurt. Well, I was gonna cry. You know what I mean? Yeah, right. Not controlled it. So that happened, and then we fixed it again, and the weather did it again. I was like, yeah, you can't mess with Mother Nature, you know. And she's just brutal. But it was good, you know. It was a good experience, you know. They taught us early that we got to prepare for it. You know, there's nothing we can do about it. We just got to be prepared for it and just go with it.
Yeah, to build on that, just working in the mountain environment with severe weather, it's a real humbling experience because you learn how limited your abilities are compared to nature. And every time we'd show up, I mean, Christmas, that feeling of unwrapping presents, we had that feeling when we were wrapping this hoop house. And we'd show up after a really bad windstorm, and the whole plastic would be just across the field, across the fence with 2x4s. So we really learned through trial and error how to build it well. But ultimately, the lesson was just respecting nature and learning to work with it as well.
Yeah, it definitely showed us, because like I said, we're all learning how to farm, and this definitely showed us like what it was gonna take at first, because these posts were like about every 5-6 feet right here, all the way down, and they're 5 feet high, and we had to pound them with the sledgehammer all the way down until they were about 1.5 feet off the ground to put in the next layer that would go in. So you do the math. I mean, it was 100 feet long on each side, and every 5 feet we had to do that. So it was a lot of work, and then also too, some of us, not everybody's comfortable with heights. So when we had to get to this part, when we're putting these ribs on, and you know, Matthew, he's come a long way. You know, he didn't even want to get on the step ladder, and then but by the end of the spring, he was up there on that scaffold, especially after the second time that we came and the storm had taken off the plastic. So yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure about everybody else's experience with hoop houses, but at 7,600 feet, you know, it's a challenge, and I'm glad we got to go through it. It was definitely a good team building exercise.
Co-op meeting. Oh, yeah, Bardo, will you speak to the co-op meeting? Okay. So this was at Los Luceros. We were like Nicanor mentioned, we're all really naive, and this is brand new for us. So getting to learn the ins and outs of working in a co-op with other small-scale farmers was really inspiring, and also it opened our eyes to very specific challenges and demands that we face that large-scale commercial farmers don't deal with. So it was just a good experience for us to start participating within the co-op and speak with farmers that have been doing this for decades.
The good thing about that is we're not alone. So, it's good we have everybody here and we all work together. That's what it's about. We got to work together. And this is part of our hoop house. This is when we first started.
No, this is at Don Bustos.
Oh, this is Don Bustos? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we went to Don Bustos in Espanola. It was cool, We helped them clean. Oh, this is the farm. This is the hoop house.
That was after Acequia Day.
Oh, yeah, that was after. Oh, yeah, we went to dig the acequia. It was so good. You know what I mean? It was different. You know what I mean? It's not like mine. Mine was different. So it was good to have a different view on a different acequia. And it was muddy, that shovel to this day is still muddy. I'm just saying. Yeah, I forgot. I forgot.
Yeah, that's Matthew's shovel.
Yeah. So we learned a lot of we learned a lot of things. We did the hoop house. We've gone to different workshops, hearing different people's ways of growing and building their farm, and we also were able to do an adobe making workshop, which was presented by Bardo. So
Master Adobe builder.
So yeah, here's some picture of the adobes we made. There's an actual form that they have that they've already built. So we were able to make the mud out of the ground. It's not in this photo, but right to the back there's a pit where we had been digging into the ground. And what we do is we loose up the dirt and then we wet it, make it muddy, and then we add straw and we mix it together. And then there's a wood form and we throw the mud in there and let it like splat inside. And then when you lift it up, it gives you the adobe. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And here's a picture of us harvesting some kale. We started harvesting kale pretty quick, or those beets and kale. And chard, yeah. And then this is where I live. This is an Arroyo Hondo, and it's a jungle. This was about a month and a half ago. A month and a half ago, and that morning we harvested about 25 pounds of peas, and then we started going back to the weeding. So as you can see, like right here where these flowers are, those are peas, and then I have there's a peach tree right here, and there's corn, and it was a real blessed year where I live. Plenty of water, and like you said, it was a short season, but everything came out right away. Trellising tomatoes.
Yeah. So this was an opportunity for us to learn to work with tomatoes, which in a high altitude environment is actually quite challenging because of the temperature exchanges with really cold nights. So, Done did a really wonderful job, and she was patient with us in learning how different pruning techniques and working with tomatoes, and then just using yo-yos to build them up and grow them. Our hoop house isn't very tidy. I think we weeded it the next day, so don't mind that. It's clean in there now. And then this is just from our harvest. We have peas from Nicanor's to the left, and then our lemon cucumbers and cucumbers from our most recent harvest.
And potatoes. That's me. Woo! Yeah! That's good. But yeah, good thing she's so patient, because, if it wasn't her being patient, I probably would have massacred those tomatoes. I'm just saying. Oh, she's a farm trainer. She's our trainer. She's our fearless leader. Yeah, she helps us out, If it wasn't for her,
Yeah, tell her why she's not here.
Oh, she just had a baby. So, wah! So yeah, it's cool. And that's when we're washing them. That's the hoop house when it was clean. Or when it's clean. It was great. Oh, that's when we made wine. Yeah, we made wine. It was so cool. And then we picked the berries. What are they called?
Choke cherries.
We picked choke cherries, and then we made wine, and it was cool. Our wine's still fermenting, so it was great. Yeah, we had to add sugar and yeast.
Just to build on that real fast, like you saw our Adobe making workshop earlier, the great part of this program for us is it's more than just farming. We've been learning a lot of different skill sets for living with the land. The most meaningful one for me was our Remedio workshop in Taos with Margaret, who's a relative of Done and Bardo and Juliet, where we did plant identification of 50 different medicinal plants, and we worked through their various ways that they're beneficial and they take care of us or they heal us, and how to apply it, whether it's with rubbing alcohol for topical treatment or brandy for ingestion, or using the roots versus the leaves. But it's been a really remarkable experience. And here we are. There's Patrick to the right. This was our cold storage workshop, which was definitely a success. Nicanor.
Okay. So yeah, one of the deal breakers we've learned, like if you want to enter a market for farming, is you have to be able to store your product, because then it's just not good for your market. So this is a 10 by 12 structure that we made, and it took us about a week to make, considering we had a lot of hands-on.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's just frame and insulation. We insulated it with foam on the inside, and then also too with regular insulation. Do you remember the
R32?
With R32 insulation. And so
And
yeah.
why is that important?
Because you need a certain amount of insulation for it to stay the temperature that you need, which is,
I don't know off the top of my
yeah.
head.
That was a long time ago. There's a range. Yeah. So between like the regular insulation that we put in the framing walls and then the foam on the outside, we're able to keep this bad boy cool enough to keep our veggies ready and fresh for the market that we prepared for.
Yeah, and share with what Patrick taught us and showed us.
Oh,
The cool bot.
yeah, Patrick. So the day that Patrick was there, he brought this is the cool bot right here, and it's a regular air conditioning system, but what's the name of the?
It's a little computer.
There's this.
That hacks into it.
Yeah, the actual cool bot. It keeps the system running at a consistent temperature for
Yeah, it tricks it.
yeah,
It's a lower
it tricks it,
temperature
so
one.
that way it stays consistent. So this air conditioning went in right there, and so yeah.
Yeah. No. Do you have anything else?
So that's our proposal, or that's our spiel. Anybody have any questions for us? We would like to take some questions. If not, thank you for listening. Yeah.
Did you guys ever consider using the Adobe to do the house cold storage?
Yeah.
We had started to dig a hole like they used to do it before, the ancestors. But we have a problem in our land. We're like in the lowest part of the land. When anybody else in the fields open their holes, their irrigation, it seems like the water goes straight to that hole because of the rodents and the rats and all that stuff. So we just decided to leave the pond there, and we built the cold storage. So that's what we were planning to do, is make us soterrano. That's what we call it. Huh?
And we landed that's a non-permanent. That's on skids, right?
Yeah, that's on skids.
So okay. So we didn't make a permanent thing. It just movable.
Oh, okay.
The idea was to do with it.
Yeah. Nice.
Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, the apprentices. So Stephen and Jean are here from La Cosecha del Norte, a growing cooperative which started with support from AFSC in 2012. And the apprentices mentioned the co-op in one of their slides. So I want to invite Stephen, and if Jean is here, I think Jean doesn't mind if I say that I think he's the eldest farmer here at the gathering. He's been coming since our second gathering, and I think he's been growing organically longer than any other farmer here in the room. So I just really want to acknowledge him as our elder and as a farmer who's been growing organically for more than 50 years. So Gina and Stephen.
Hello, I'm Steve Jaramillo, and I farm in San Pedro. And hold on, Jean's going to join me here. Anyway, Jean and I belong to La Cosecha del Norte, a co-op that AFSC helped us organize about 5 years ago, I guess. And we've been moving along fairly steadily growing. And sorry I didn't have much, very many pictures. I just started putting this together last night, some of the pictures I had in my camera. Anyway, before I get into the photos, the Cosecha del Norte has been around, like I said, 5 years, and we've been selling to the schools. A few years ago, we were selling to La Montanita. We sold to SIDS, the Español Community Market, Los Alamos Co-op, and so we had a great start thanks to AFSC. They helped us originally, and they're still helping us by paying our insurance premiums for the co-op. So many thanks to AFSC. Anyway, we've been this summer. It's been kind of slow as far as sales as a group. We've kind of been, everybody has been kind of on their own selling at farmers markets. And this is a photo of my farm. This is about a month ago, I guess. I just had a few rows of chili, and the pile with the blue tarp on the right is a compost pile that I've started on my own. I have 3 different piles in different stages of compost, and these are chili plants that I started as from transplants, and this year was one of the earliest years of harvesting chili, and it's much easier transplanting the chili than direct seeding, as far as the first hoeing. The first hoeing, when you plant by seed, usually the weeds and the chili are competing, and it's very time consuming and difficult for the first hoeing. And by putting transplants, you really get a head start, and the plants will beat the weeds. So it's much easier the first hoeing. Anyway, go ahead and next. More pictures. This summer, I have like 5.5 acres at my farm, and since it's just usually me that this summer I have a friend that I've loaned part of my fields, and he's helping me, and we help each other out. I help him with the tractor work, and he helps me hoe, and so he takes care of his own most of the time, and he sells his stuff usually at the Santa Fe Farmers Market, and I sell in Española. But this is part of his fields. He had corn. This was a second planting in that particular field. He had peas, which we planted early in in the spring, and then when the peas were done, he planted squash. So he's been harvesting a lot of squash from there. Next slide. This is a picture of the squash and another planting of corn on the left, on the same plot where he had the peas. Yes, this is flood irrigation. We irrigate through the Garcia Acequia in San Pedro, and in our place, it's where the acequia goes through my place. It's pipelined. So we have I have alfalfa valves that are come off the main pipeline. So I have different alfalfa valves. So it makes it easier to water. This is some of his fields. More of the sweet corn. So this is me picking blackberries. I have about 30 blackberry bushes, and they produced. I didn't keep an account of how many pounds, but it seemed like I was getting, I don't know, about maybe 30, 40 pounds a week of blackberries for seemed like 4 or 5 weeks. So I don't plant a big amount. I just have kind of a big variety of stuff growing. So as far as this is some more of the corn that my friend Carlos is planting. More of the blackberry bushes. This is the hoop house that I have. Right now, I just have a few tomato plants that were kind of volunteers. I planted this year in January, and I had a fairly successful early spring harvest of what I planted in the hoop house. I planted 4 beds of carrots and a couple of beds of peas and some beds of lettuce and spinach. And the peas, this was I hadn't planted peas in the hoop house ever, and I had very little experience with peas really, so it was kind of an experiment this year, and they did fairly well. I think I harvested about 150 pounds of peas from there. The carrots, the 4 beds, I was able to harvest like over 1,200 pounds of carrots. So, some of the greens, the lettuce and the spinach, we were able to sell in the spring to the Espanola schools. Unfortunately, when I started harvesting the carrots, school was over, so I wasn't able to sell to the schools, but I think they would have really enjoyed the carrots. Next slide. This is some of my friend planted pinto beans, and this is just a couple of days ago. He had gathered all the beans have matured and they're kind of dry on the pod, so he pulled out the plants, and he's going to be ready to thresh them here probably in a few days. And if any of you have planted beans in small quantities, it's kind of a pain to thresh them. You really have to. The process is gather all as many of the plants as you can, and put them on a canvas or tarp, and just step on them and until all the beans fall off the pods and the plants, and then you you blow off all the litter that's left. More of the blackberries and the chili. This was a patch of okra that my friend is growing, and I guess he's doing very well with the okra and the tomatoes at the Santa Fe market. More of the blackberries. This is a patch of blue corn that I have growing. The blue corn, I sold some blue corn meal this spring to the Taos schools through some of the funding that they got through AFSC. Anyway, the Taos schools have been buying blue corn from the co-op for the last 2-3 years, and they seem to be very happy with it. So I'll probably have a couple hundred pounds for this school year. And this is part of the cucumber and watermelon patch in my place. You can see some of them, and honeydews. There's a few. You can see a few honeydews in the background, and the watermelons. This is part of the orchard. Which this year didn't have a very heavy crop of peaches, but what I had grew pretty good size, so I was able to sell at the market and use for our home use. And that's the hoop house in the background, which most of the tomato plants that are growing in there were volunteers from last year's crop that I had there. But I think it's about 30 some plants that I have growing in there. They're volunteers, and it's enough to harvest probably about 60 pounds of tomatoes every week from those. Anyway, I think we're down to where we started. So, Gene, you want to add anything else?
Well, I have an 8-acre plot of a land, and I only use about 2 acres. But mostly, what I used to do is grow apples. At my peak, I had 600 trees, and I used to sell all my apples to the Albuquerque schools. So, but needless to say, the early frost every spring kind of dwindled me down to about 60 trees. So, but now I'm growing chili and a few vegetables, and another thing that has kind of slowed me down is age. Practically all my life. I grew up with it, and I'm still struggling, but I'm still planting. So I guess it's in your blood, no, to do that. So, and then me and Steve belong to La Cosecha del Norte, and which has, when there's a bunch of us together, we share our experiences and share our different things that we grow. So, and Patrick has been a good help to all of us. So, of course, when Don Bustos was involved in the process, I should say, he used to help us, and every once in a while I see Don, and we share experiences. And of course, I've known Don since he was just a little, a little kid. So, and that's about all. I didn't have any photos or anything.
Yeah.
So.
What was my trick with carrots?
Yeah, what was your trick to get carrots to do good? You know what I mean? 'Cause, yeah, I know.
Well, I guess the trick with carrots, first, I've had a lot of people tell me that they have a hard time getting them to germinate in the first place. The trick with carrots is you have to keep the soil moist all the time. And planting in the hoop house, what I've learned is the beds are under drip irrigation, and in January when I'm planting, I usually put the row cover, and after I irrigate through the drip with a row cover, it keeps fairly moist and for several days. So I don't have to water that often, but the moisture keeps in the soil. And
but also incorporate in preparing the soil, you add something, don't you?
yeah, the trick also is working the beds with a broad fork and making sure that the soil is soft enough, deep enough that the carrots are not going to be able to grow, and also adding the root vegetables like a lot of phosphorus. So it's imperative that you add. I add bone meal and also some blood meal, and you have to be careful with how much blood meal you add because it's a high nitrogen content, and as I found out, if you add too much nitrogen, the carrots will develop like twins. Instead of having a single carrot, they split up. So you have to limit your nitrogen content on the soil and concentrate more on the phosphorus. So I guess, yeah.
Go ahead.
The trick is, just having the good soil preparation, making sure that it's soft enough, deep enough that that the carrots are going to grow big. Any questions?
I was really impressed by the diversity of fruits and vegetables that you're growing. How did you decide what you wanted to plant?
Say louder, Yasmin.
I'm sorry.
Para que ellas puedan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was asking, I said, I was really impressed with the diversity of fruits and vegetables that he's growing at the farm, and I asked, how did he decide what he wanted to grow?
Well, I guess I've been growing a garden for many years, and when I first started growing the gardens, this was never for sale. It was just for home use. So I just used to plant a little bit of a lot of things, big variety, what we'd like to eat. And now, I've expanded, and I've kept that diversity, except a little bit bigger in scale. And there's times when I think, I need to cut down and concentrate on a couple of crops that I do well, like the soils there in San Pedro lend itself well to growing watermelons and melons that they do, because I've harvested 35, 40-pound watermelons. So it's a sandy loam soil, which the watermelons like. Any other questions?
Thank you. I just want to check, are there other folks here just to raise their hand and introduce themselves from La Cosecha del Norte? Oh yeah, Bardo. Okay. And I think Nettie and Sasha are coming, but there are other folks. Okay, we're going to move to the South Valley. So there's a big group from the South Valley, I think, since we're close to Albuquerque. So do y'all want to come up together? And then Fidel is asked to go first because he'll be needing to head back. So South Valley folks, don't be shy. And the translator has a... So you can see on this slide, oh, I don't know what happened there. You can't see on this slide. AFSC has been working in the South Valley since 2009. So we have a group here from the Agricultura Network, which started in '09. And then this year, we partnered with Los Jardines and La Placita on a training program. So we'll start with Agricultura Network.
Buenos días, good morning. My name is Fidel Gonzalez. I am part of Agricultura Network, one of the three first, how would say it, not institutions, but organizations that start to work since Zaira said 2009 with Don Bustos, Sara Namaste, Patrick Stave, right? That was his name, and some other friends that recently left the organization. I don't want to take too much time. I just want to say what's going on because, you know, we have been sharing what we do. First, I forget, I have some things that I want to share. For example, the question about carrots. I've been doing great with carrots too, and the reason why is because I do companion cropping. I mix carrots with radishes, and it works great. It has been working always good for me. I don't have to trim carrots myself and taking out, you know, like cleaning in between and just wasting seeds. I mix carrots and radishes. So the radishes, you know, come out in 1 month, and then when you harvest the radishes, the carrots use that space to expand, and then we don't waste any. We use the radish, and as well as the carrots. I tried to do it once with turnips, and it didn't work. I mean, for one or another reason, I don't think that they get along together. But radishes and carrots, they were great. And as always, I just wanted to give you a little fast background of where I come from. I come from Mexico City. I always wanted to say I do not come from farmers background. I didn't know anything about farming until I met Don Bustos. That was before I met AFSC as one. I met Don Bustos at Pablo Lopez's house, and we were preparing a sweat lodge to get in and sweat. And Don Bustos was using his kabura right there, helping Pablo to move the soil. That's how I met him. And then I got involved with AFSC because I didn't want to be on the road performing anymore, and I need a way to support my life. I was 3 months on the hole with my rent, and AFSC came to rescue me. That's how I got involved with agriculture. So one of the things. Another thing too, I'm just going to be like right to the point. I noticed this year that because I use land that it's not my land, and I have 6 different plots and 7 miles around the neighborhood. And one of them is an open area where everyone can come through, and including hens and chickens. And so when I planted, I was worried about, oh man, those babies are going to destroy it. But I ended up noticing that that was the healthiest piece of land I have all over. Because everyone was like, no, the chickens are going to eat your this, and they're going to eat your that. And yeah, I mean, they do. They eat tomatoes and they eat salad, you know, after they eat the rest of it. So for digestion, I guess they like salad and tomatoes. But to tell you the truth, it was the best plot where I had the best squash, the best char, the flowers and everything, because there were not a single bug. Not a single bug, or not even a grasshopper. The other ones were floating in grasshoppers, and that land was completely clean. So since that day on, I noticed that it's good to have chickens. The only thing is we gotta be careful, even with tomato plants, until they start to give the tomato fruit themselves, then you take the chickens away, but that will keep the land healthy. So I noticed this last year, And this year the same thing, because we are floating of cucumbers and flowers and char in the same plot. So chickens are good for taking care of business too. Um, I think if you can keep on going with the pictures, I want to show you something. I tried this year. Can you keep on going? Because I didn't put them like in a, that's with Sophia a long time ago when we started. Keep on going, keep on going. I want to share you something. That's another seed I planted a long time ago. That, that, that's the same. That's no. Keep on going. I think I got one that I want to share because. Right, keep on going, keep on. We'll go to this later. I just want to, right there. Hold it right there. I want to share about tomatoes. I found that hanging tomatoes in my greenhouse, it works great. First, because it's easier for us to harvest. It's easier for us to clean it. But because it's the whole structure, so they hold the twine really strong, and the tomato plants grow really good. And I have a nice production of tomatoes in those past years. Now this right here, don't do it. Don't even think about it, because it was a try to see if it works. It's a whole lot of work. It's double work, double pain. That's the structure of the greenhouse. It's only 3 arches, because I have another greenhouse in my house that is just laid in. So I thought, let me put it to work. So I brought it to one of the main fields to give it to try to see if it works good. The same thing like inside of the greenhouse. Don't even think about it. It's too much work. They're producing, but now they're like, literally in the soil on top. So we have nice quality tomatoes full of soil. So I just want to share that. Flowers, as always, we got to have flowers as pesticides, marigolds. As you know, I'm very involved with the community of Aztec dancers, so we use that for Day of the Dead. And I'm going to tell you the fast history now that Sofia is here. We have that event in the South Valley called Marigold Parade. How's it called? The Marigold Parade. When I ask people, do you know what are we doing this? And I don't know how they started a long time ago. It's a nice event. We all going behind the danza and we dancing. But there is a history about the marigolds, literally of what happened, I don't know how many years ago, when the people who emigrate. People says that it's somewhere here in the north of United States. Nobody really knows what it is, because it's also related to the stars, right? That's how it works for us with the cosmology. Anyway, when Tenoch, that's the name I gave to my son, but that was the priest who was leading the Aztec people back in the days, before they become Mexicas. They turned into Mexicas when they got to Mexico City, because they named it Mexico, which is the center of the moon. Anyway, so in those 200 and something years that they were emigrating from north to south, so many people was dying, and Tenoch, the priest, he asked to some of the elders, the dreamers, to figure out what to do for that people who was dying on the road. It's like the Trail of Tears, but the Mexican style. So when they figure out what to do, they send one of the priests inside of a cave to stay there for a while, and he came out saying, okay, this is the vision. We have to drop petals of marigolds on the way going down to where we're going. And the reason why is because the smell and the color of the marigolds attracts the spirits of the people who was living. So in order for them to venerate the people who was living in the whole walking, we got marigolds all the time. So marigolds has to be part of the tradition. And that's what's going on now in the Marigold Parade. People throw marigold petals, and they don't know why, but at least they're doing it. We just have to tell them. At least we have to tell them it's good, man, because the spirits are following us. So be careful with what you're talking. Okay, you want to keep on going? Right there. Let me tell you, this is an advertising. I'm opening a store, and this is part of the process of sustainability. Since I started this movement a long time ago with Don Bustos, which is great. I'm always going to be happy to name him, because he had been my mentor from the beginning. And sitting on the table and talking to him, we were like discussing all the steps that we have to go through. And now, as a part of the sustainability, as an opportunity that I had, I'm opening a store where I'm going to be glad to work with all of you. Actually, that's the reason why I came to So I won't be able to be here the whole day long, and maybe not tomorrow, but I would like to get all your information because he just mentioned the thing about corn. So in this store, we're going to be selling local produce using the local word, you know, in the right way. So we're going to be selling local produce and also transform it into food. So we're going to be preparing food because he has a kitchen. So now we have a small, it's not a big thing, but it's something to start. It's in a great location. We are in front of UNM. So we're going to be supporting local agricultures. We're going to be expanding the knowledge about organical, and we're going to bring a good quality food for the whole state. So don't miss it. It's going to be Wednesday the 27th at 6. We're going to have music and dance and blessings and everything. And right now it's open. We open it on am I running? We open it on Monday, so the farmers can start to bring produce. We are even the SBDC came out like that was great because now we're pushing people to do what they said they were doing. So she came over and said, "Do you want me to bring produce from the SBDC?" And I told her, "Of course, that's the idea. You know, we gotta fill them up with what we are doing in New Mexico." Same thing happened with me about a month ago. I found someone from the co-op from La Montañita, and I told her the same. I'm opening the store because La Montañita is not buying from us anymore. You just buy from time to time and you use the word local, but in reality, from 100% of what you got in that store, maybe 2 or 3% is local. So they're just taking advantage of the local world, right? So I told them I'm opening a store where 80% will be local, and we have to leave an open window for things that we don't grow. We don't grow bananas, we don't grow mangoes, we don't grow coffee. And I took the permit for this as a market so we can sell even human beings if we want, as far as they're organic, right? Okay, no more. All right then, so you want to keep on going by now, so that's at the back of my house. This is, it's just a third of an acre, and this is as much as you can do. I've been doing great. This is when we started to work in Los Jardines Institute like 5-6 years ago maybe. I was a little skinnier and I could walk. Tomatoes, you see how tomatoes grow really beautiful inside of the greenhouse. Like I said, carrots, blackberries. I wanted to share something about my blackberries weren't producing very good for the past 2 years, and this year I overloaded with coffee. One of the local stores was giving me all the leftover coffee grains, and I put coffee on all the blackberries, and they start to produce good again. So a tip to give you is like coffee like crazy. You drink it and then you dump it on the plants, and it looks great. That's the other seed, the one I was telling you. What else? Oh, the Four Fantastics. You can see it. That's Don Bustos and the second generation, I guess, or the third second and third generation. No, that was the second generation of the program. Yeah. That was 2 years after, and you want to keep on going. That's me modeling. That's my son. I already got it working, man. Hey, he better know the business. That one. They wanted to take my son to McDonald's at the school, and I told them right straight, no. He's not going to that place because we don't support McDonald's. If we want to give him a burger, we do it here at home. He eats meat and everything. And the teachers told me, so will be that okay? We bring him to your house, to the cold frames. I know that's 1,000 times better than taking them to McDonald's. So since that day on, they have been calling me to bring kids from time to time to the school. So it's better for them. And the kids know more than the teachers, to tell the truth. It's like they don't even know what chard and kale or collard greens are. The teachers. So we have to educate them. That's another one. Another thing, something that I was thinking about, what is it that I can grow year round? The miniatures are great. So I'm doing wonderful with microgreens and sprouts because that's the base of my salad. Okay. Thank you very much, and I hope I pass the audition. So now I'm going to pass to
I guess since Jedrick isn't here, I'll kind of take the role of explaining the Agricultura Cooperative Network. So, did he send you any pictures? Okay, thank you. And I was pretty late in getting my photos in, so we'll see if we have any backdrop for you. But so my name's Casey. I am a farmer with a farm called Red Tractor Farm that is a member of the Agricultura Cooperative Network. Fidel's farm is also a member. Sophia, who will talk next, is also a member with the Los Sardinas Institute. And there are about 5 other farms that are involved. And basically, I don't know how many years ago ACN was started. That's like the acronym. But it was started with the help of the American Friends Service Committee, which is really wonderful because basically what it is doing is it's allowing us individual small farmers to aggregate our produce together. So that way we're able to then sell our food to other markets that otherwise we would find inaccessible. So instead of having to compromise our values and get bigger and bigger and bigger to grow more and more food to meet the demands of larger sellers or larger buyers, we're able to stay small and then together pitch in to help meet those demands. So for instance, during the school year, we sell over 400 pounds of salad greens to APS. And we're able to meet, like I said, we're able to meet those goals. And instead of one person growing that 400 pounds, we can stay small and maybe, you know, I'll contribute 50 pounds, Fidel will contribute 75, and together we're able to meet the demand. We're slowly working on trying to get more contracts with APS because it's a matter of winning the bids. So this year we were providing a lot of fruit because it was a bumper crop year in Albuquerque. And the salad greens, we sometimes do radishes and carrots as well. And hopefully each year we'll get more and more foods into the schools. We're also trying to work on getting our food into things like senior centers around Albuquerque. And so far it's been really wonderful. Another aspect of ACN is that we have a 350 family CSA, or Community Supported Agriculture Project. So that is specifically only for families in the South Valley. It is subsidized through partnerships, community partnerships that we're trying to develop. So we work with like Presbyterian and different USDA funding grants. And in that way, we're able to provide food stamp subsidized food shares once a week for families. So that way they only have to pay $3 or $5 and they get the equivalent, of a $15 to $30 share of produce that is pretty much all sourced from the South Valley this time of year. And during the early and late seasons, since many of us are just full summer farmers, we source from farms in neighboring parts of the state. So this year we've been getting a lot of food from northern New Mexico. We've also gotten some food from southern New Mexico. So in that way, we're not only able to support farmers in the South Valley, but we're also able to support farmers around the state. And that has been really successful. And as a small farmer, it is incredible to know that I have guaranteed sales every week as long as I can produce enough. And again, it's nice because I don't have to get 100 pounds of eggplant. Instead, I can have 30. And if somebody else has 30, then they're able to provide a pound of eggplant to 60 of the shares. And so we kind of split our produce up that way. ACN also does sales to local restaurants, particularly in the wintertime when we don't necessarily have such a large quantity of food, but we have enough. And the local restaurants have been really supportive. And we're currently trying to figure out a way to still sell to the co-op when we have so much produce that we're willing to negotiate on price, because price point is a big point for us. We want to make sure that we are paying the farmers fairly, because you all know farming is a hell of a lot of work. And to get just $2 for a bundle of kale that took you how many months to get there is not right. So through the CSA and everything, we're able to get a fair price, but we're working on what happens when we get hundreds of pounds of something and we need to move it instead of wasting it. So we're currently trying to negotiate things like that and figure it out. This year was the first full year that ACN was officially a cooperative. So we changed the tax structure and everything. Yeah, it was a huge deal. So us farmers, we have to go to the board meetings once a month and kind of talk through things and figure it out, which is hilarious because we're all farmers and not like administrative people. But we are figuring it out. It is going really well. We do get to make decisions about the direction that we want our network to go in, while at the same time, like I said, still staying really true to our values. And all member farms commit to basically the 3 pillars of sustainability. So we try to treat our people right, pay them fairly, make sure that they get time off if they need time off. Just really get involved and like I said, make sure we're treating our people right. And we make sure that we're treating the land right. So we all practice organic practices, even though not all, I think only one of us is certified organic. And we make sure to try to make a living. So like I said, the 3 pillars of sustainability we're trying to stay true to in the network. And so far, I think we've been around for at least 6 or 7 years because it was formed during the last year of the training program. Ah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we had to add the cooperative, so that's why now I say Agricultura Cooperative Network. Just for for tax purposes, we had to figure it out, but it's still ACN because we're still trying to stay true to that original root. So the farm that I'm from is called Red Tractor Farm. We're about 1 3/4 acres, and I'm the manager there. And shoot, right now is just the busiest time. We're getting like 400 pounds of tomatoes a week, over 100 pounds of carrots, over 100 pounds of cucumbers and everything. I'm really grateful to my helpers who are there today holding down the fort. Just want to give some love to them. And then hopefully next year I just assumed management of a new farm called Chispas Farm, which is a certified organic farm in the South Valley, and I want them to become a member and slowly try to increase the capacity of the network, because the more food we can grow to sell through the network, the more food we can get to our community members, and the better we all will be. So it's definitely a network that's trying to support each other and build everybody up while still feeding local people. Mm-hmm.
All right, buenos días. Good morning. My name is Sofia Martinez. I'm co-director of Los Jardines Institute. We're based in the South Valley. We basically aren't just a farm. The Los Jardines Institute has 3 programs. We have an environmental and economic justice program. We've been doing environmental justice work for many decades, so that's part of our programming. Most recently, we developed the first environmental and economic justice strategic plan for any public land here in the state, not only in the state, but in the country, with the Valle del Oro. The Valle del Oro National Wildlife Refuge is the only urban wildlife refuge west of the Mississippi. And if you all know New Mexico history, which I know you norteños know that, we have never been in good standing with public lands, no? We're always either trying to burn them in effigy or fighting the forest land, BLM, that's all it's about, okay? But being that the Valle del Oro is in one of the most contaminated communities in Albuquerque, and we lived there for many years, we're very happy that it's now a refuge. However, we want to make sure that as the refuge gets developed, that the inner community that hosts it, the contaminated community, also gets better lighting and resource and sidewalks and artwork and all the stuff that they're going to do for the tourists to get them past our contamination to the Valle del Oro, no? So that's major work that we do, and it's associated with farming, no? Because if we don't have good, healthy soil, you can't farm. If you don't have a good quality of water, we can't farm. Quantity is one thing, which we're having problems with, but quality is another thing. So we really need to work with that. We've worked for many years with the AFSC Association and we feel that we've influenced that in terms of not looking just at quantity, but also the quality in the acequias, right? So that's one of our work throughout New Mexico and nationally is environmental justice. We also have a literacy resist. Mostly it's a library, and we do a lot of seminars and workshops there, and we also host a small library that honors a Mexican American Studies program, high school program in Arizona that was shut down about 3 years ago, or no, a little bit more than that. They had a really wonderful Mexican American Studies curriculum for high school, and the children were graduating in higher numbers and going to the university in Arizona, and you can't have that, no. You can't have too many dark people getting degrees because then it creates all kinds of problems. But so they shut it down. And they received a lot of negative criticism because they made the kids and the students box up the 88 titles that they were using and shipped them out of the school. So today they call them the boxed and the banned. In the end, they only banned 7 of them and boxed the rest, including The Tempest, Shakespeare's The Tempest, House on Mongo Street, and other that in my opinion aren't that political. But I'm very proud of 500 years of Chicano history and pictures. I worked in that. It was born here in New Mexico and mutilated through many different revisions and histories, but it's still a voice of the people here in New Mexico, 500 years of Chicano history and pictures. The Cordova sisters were also fired from where is it? Santa Rosa, for teaching from that book, no? So I'm very proud of that book. And in New Mexico, we have to have resist, because in New Mexico, we have always been resisting, even though we're considered the orphan child, no? New Mexico has the only Library of Congress boycotted movie in the United States, and that's Salt of the Earth. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's a classic in labor, women, and Chicano studies programs all over the country, and it was seen all over Europe for 10 years before it was finally allowed to be shown here in the United States, and that's New Mexico. So que no freguen con Nuevo Mexico. Okay. So just a little history about me. I'm originally from northern New Mexico, many generations from northern New Mexico, and farming as I knew it, that's the way we grew up in El Rancho, no? And El Rancho in northern New Mexico is considered that you have a little bit of farming and you have goats and cows and horses and everything else, right? Anything that a family needs to live. And basically my family were dirt farmers till about 1945 when they came out of the canyon into electricity and highways and all that other stuff. And my father continued farming, and my mother, because it's not just about one, it was always a mutual thing. Because remember, women were the first ones to discover seeds and what they could do. So even though it's a very gendered occupational area today, mostly dominated by men, except for a few of us that kind of dig in here. But so traditionally farming in New Mexico has been either people were there for sustainability up until probably 1945, and then it became one person working for insurance and a regular monthly salary, and the other person dándole en el jardín, no, or en el rancho, whatever it was. So that's what I grew up with. I gave up farming because we came to the city and got involved in different things, and after a while you just can't even keep up a garden. So I had to actually retire, did early retirement because we were fighting a landfill, so I decided to do early retirement and go back to school. So we started a friends and family garden. So it was about 10 of us, friends and family. And then we found out about the American Friends Service Committee, and we met Fidel. And Fidel needed land. And we had a really large property with a bunch of trees in there that we needed to clean up. So it was a great exchange. American Friends Service Committee was developing all the things that you see in this room and that have been talked about this morning with the help of Don Bustos, kind of integrating it culturally. And so when Fidel was looking for land, we had land. And we loaned him the land for 5 years, the memorandum of understanding. It's not about money, it's about building our communities and our sustainability, right? And so we loaned the land to Fidel, and then instead of our friends and family working on our little plot, we just basically integrated into Fidel's farm because we could eat from his produce and at the same time help him weed a little bit. So that's the way we started. At that time, I had also been working in the Wagamon Public Schools, my hometown, and I left my job because we were fighting a landfill. So that's how I ended up kind of gardening. But we started a little gardening project in Wagamon also. So today the school has a farm to school project. We have a little garden over there that's a twinning garden with Los Jardines. And for the last 6 years, the students do everything in the garden except till the soil. And for the first 3 years, we gave the produce to the senior center in the school. We now sell it in the fall, and in the winter, we plug in with Los Jardines produce, and we take it to the schools. They were honored this year through the wellness and nutrition program of the Public Education Department for their really good farm-to-school program. Magdalena has a really good one. We need to look into that. But anyway, so after Fidel was farming in our space for a while, we started helping him out and starting up other little plots in our yard. And then we were under Fidel's, a little bit of, you have to wiggle around a little bit. Under Fidel's umbrella, we applied to the National Conservation Resource Service for a coal frame. So we have a 30 by 70 foot coal frame, and Fidel basically taught us how to plant in the coal frame, and then we started planting, just making more space in the garden. So thanks to AFSC, their own trainers at the time, and Fidel helped us build the hoop house. The trainees that they had trained became some of our workers later on, Jose Luis and Brandy. We partnered with them for a few years after the MOU with Fidel ebbed out. Fidel is all over, as he's told you, 7 properties throughout the South Valley. So we first worked with Brandy Montaño and Jose Luis Ortiz. They were trained through AFSC, also the program, and they became some of our first part-time workers on the farm as we took over from Fidel. And of course, they had that training from AFSC. This year, we have well, the last 2 years, Juan Gonzalez is our farm responsable, we call it. We don't call it a farm manager because all of us are learning, right? And so this year we're involved in a collaboration between Los Jardines Institute, La Placita Institute, and the Mountain View Community Garden with AFSC, and we're doing a trainer of trainers type of workshop. So it's kind of a new thing. We're evolving that curriculum, and hopefully it'll take off. No, but just for ourselves, we've really benefited from all the work that AFSC and Don Bustos and now Patrick are doing, and Fidel and everyone, and we've been able to really, again, Casey spoke about the co-op, and that's been a real benefit to all of us. I think it strengthens, I think it's helped strengthen some of the cultural farmers in the South Valley, as well as kept that a little bit. There's a little bit of a struggle because just as the 1% is taking over the world, well, so too is it happening in Albuquerque, right? Albuquerque is becoming a city that's not here to serve the local people, but rather the tourists and all the newbies that want to come and that have money from whatever to buy up land in New Mexico. So as we begin to starve and not be able to hold our lands, people are selling off land. And we have a lot of new people coming into the South Valley and northern New Mexico, buying up land because they have the money. And our people need it, right? So we are seeing a lot of land sales, and we're seeing a lot of disruption of our own cultures and ways of being. No, if you go, many times I go to conferences and people say, "Oh, farming is dead in New Mexico," and it's usually people that just got here like yesterday, right? Or even 10 years ago. They think that because you've been here 10 years, you can speak for New Mexico and that you know what's going on. And I think we need to challenge those kinds of things, or not necessarily challenge them, but I think the co-op represents an institution, an organism that can kind of help maintain that. And I think all of us in this room are helping to do that, because no, it's not a lie that farming is dead in New Mexico. Traditional farming is still alive and well in many pockets. Yes, there is the grant farms now, and that's just kind of the evolution, no? Before it was farming for sustainability, dirt farmers, which we all were in New Mexico. Then, you know, one person working, the other person working the farm. Today, that's still a model, but now, like in the South Valley, there's a lot of funding that goes into it, no? So those are challenges that we need to reflect on. Those are good things, but at the same time, when we want to talk about sustainability, farming can really kind of challenge you when it comes to that. But I think it's something that we need to look to it, because it's not, we don't have abundant resources and the earth. We really do have to learn to be a little more sustainable, and I think farming is a good way to kind of look into that. And so cold storage, we're getting there. So we definitely want to talk to you a little bit. And one other thing that's really been hard for us is the administration and the budget stuff. And I think that that's something that I know someone said we're farmers, not administrators, but we really need to come to the realization that we have to be both if we're going to be sustainable and successful. We're going to have to be both, and I think Fidel is an excellent example. Rebecca.
My name is Rebecca. I'm with the Mountain View Community Garden. I'll make it quick. The Mountain View Community Garden just pretty much started a couple of years ago. So as a garden, it's a learning experience. We've run into some challenges. Right now, we're pretty much just growing some pumpkins, some squash, and a whole field of volunteer tomato plants. Just kind of grew from last year. And as an individual, this is my first year doing any kind of gardening or farming, really. So it's all a new learning experience, but I'm really glad to be part of the AFSC training program and learning, and hopefully I'll be able to move the Mountain View Community Garden a little bit farther and help make it part of this collaboration, because it's really great.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lauren Gomez. I work with the La Placita Institute, and I am their current farm manager. To give you a brief background about myself, I was also raised in northern New Mexico, in Taos and Cuesta, New Mexico, where farming and gardening and, you know, being a ranchero was just a thing we did. I didn't know people didn't do that. So, you know, years down the road, I didn't plan on being a farmer. I didn't plan on being a ranchero. I wanted to be a city boy. I moved to the city. And my younger brother was asked to start a garden project in the war zone of Albuquerque, New Mexico, over here, actually. And because I had like this much farming experience, he asked me to come aboard. So we started doing it. That was like 10 years ago. I farmed north, east, south, and west in Albuquerque. I farmed with Miss Casey Holla there. How you doing, Holla? So we've partnered with the American Friends Service Committee, and for me, it's been an awesome review because I took about 2 years off from farming and just the whole social justice realm for a while. So coming back was like relearning everything, so it was new, and then plus the new things that I am learning that I was like, oh well, you know, I didn't know that, you know. So it's been an awesome experience. This, as far as the partnership, it's been a difficult season for me this year. This morning I was late because we don't have a water pump right now, still guys, and it got fixed. I got the call, so I've been watering my farm for the past week now by hand. So that's what I was doing this morning. But it's the support that we're getting from the American Friends Service Committee that lets me know that I'm not, and La Placita as an organization isn't out here alone farming. And having that support and just to know that I have just that little bit of stress taken off my shoulders has been just so, it's kept me farming, because there's been days where I'm like, you know what, darn this farm, the hell with all this, you know what I mean? Like, so, and it gets frustrating, but knowing that I can call on people that know what they're doing, that are there to want to support you, to want you to be successful. You know, when we started farming, we didn't know anything about administration, crop cycles, monocropping, we didn't know anything about any of that. We were just some guys from the hood that wanted to help our community, because I seen there within the war zone, you know, when we started talking to these kids in schools, you know, a little boy was saying, you know, he was hungry, and this kid's got to be like 50 pounds overweight. And I'm like, how can you be hungry, kid? He said, well, I didn't eat this morning, so my sibling could eat. I said, well, when you do get to eat, what do you get to eat? You know, I get a waffle, maybe some Oreos, and like a Coke for breakfast, you know, and that's if he got breakfast at school. So we really wanted to address the diabetes issue within the war zone, within that neighborhood, and we were naive enough to think we'd stomp it out in 10 years. And that's where that wanting to come from is like, where are we getting our food? You know, Sophia said that the farming here didn't really start sloughing off until like the 1945, and which was the first supermarket that we know of was in 1945. So we were still real connected here, and I was like, well, you know, growing up, when my pops wanted to talk to me, he brought me outside and he did work. It wasn't always farming, but then we just sat there and we worked. And that's how we wanted to connect with our community and with the kids we were working with, is just, let's get them out there, even if you don't really do any work, just for them to be outside and connect again with the land was something we wanted to do. And we felt that was a way we could address the diabetes issue, sustainability, what is inequities within your communities and things like that. And for me, it's been the past 10 years and this past year have been eye-opening sometimes, and difficult. But it's been quite a ride, and I'm glad that I've got to do this, and I'm glad that I get to continue doing what I found that I love to do, is to reach out to my community using agriculture as a tool to engage and empower. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect timing.